Okay, North Ottawa is right down here.
On North Ottawa, the original idea there to build an impoundment really originated with a water manager on the Bois de Sioux board. He had in mind maybe a quarter section or a half section where we could store water down in the area that frequently flooded.
They used to call this the Tinta Slough.
I've got pretty good aerial photos from earlier floods that show, 10 square miles or so flooded out in that area.
These are the lands that were flooded most years. You can see that by how many owners there's been that tried to farm this land, how many ditches they've tried to get the water out of this area.
A landowner came to us and said, hey, I got some land I want to sell. It's kind of marginal. You think you could use it? We took a look at the land. I sent the information over to Charlie, and he said, yeah, I could build a storage area there.
So our thought was to take that water that currently floods 10 square miles and try to concentrate it on a smaller area and then prevent any release of that water from going downstream and harming people along the way. I was looking at two things really in figuring out how big this ought to be. And the first, of course, was make it big enough so that you're sure it'll work. Gathering the water from a higher elevation upstream and then bring it into the impoundment area through a diked inlet channel. That way we can store water up to about 14 feet deep and on an average about 10 feet deep over the 3 square mile impoundment.
It took a lot of convincing to get the people to go along with the ideas that we had.
The local people in general were receptive to something small, but somewhat overwhelmed by the larger size alternatives that we were looking at. There were some doubters and some detractors, and certainly it was controversial at the time.
Major landowner concerns on the loss of tax revenue. We went down to the legislature, we worked on it, we was able to get the watersheds, the availability in the Red River Valley to do payment in lieu of taxes.
Even ourselves, we were skeptical of whether or not something like this would work.
We worked a lot with the local township board. They too weren't that comfortable with the idea, but at least it was a way to communicate what we were trying to do.
When we do want to buy the land to put into a project, it is more costly. But you got to get down to the basic economics with the landowners to say, we're going to help some things upstream, we're going to help some things downstream. So if we can turn some of that land in the bottom of the retention area, if you can hold water on it for 10 days or 2 weeks, upstream of Wahpeton Breckenridge or the Bois de Sioux River, holding that water until that river is crested and the flood threat is passed. They proceeded with the project, they kept working on it, they kept working with the landowners, trying to explain the benefits that were going to become because of this project.
You've got to get permits, you have to get money. So the funding organizations were involved all along the way. Major funding, of course, from the Red River Watershed Management Board in the state of Minnesota, as well as the Bois de Sioux Watershed itself.
North Ottawa is in the process for 10 years in our watershed. Our landowners are looking towards the basin perspective. They're cooperating, and that's a key for us.
The North Ottawa impoundment itself is in the Rabbit River portion of the Bois de Sioux. The upstream area feeding it is outlined partially in this heavy line and then partially by the diversion channels that we built. That's about 75 square miles. The total drainage area of the Rabbit River at its mouth is about 320.
We're driving up along the south diversion channel right now. We're in that half-mile jog area. The diversion channel is plumb full.
We've got 8.5 miles of collector channel or diversion channel, brought then down to what we refer to as an inlet channel, which is a dike channel leading to the impoundment itself.
The inlet channel is dike on both sides. It's about 1.5 miles long. The diked inlet channel is what gives us the capacity to hold water up to about 10 feet deep in the impoundment area itself.
And you'll see the header channel that goes north. Everything on this side continues on its way. All the land on this side of us, on the left side of us, is now top of the hill. Here's the weir. We got water going over the weir now. So we're taking water into Pool C. But I'm going to grab a picture of this and give it to Charlie. We put this weir right in here so that we would hold water higher and it would run it north down that header. We call it a header channel. The impoundment is designed to capture and store 4 inches of runoff, the 100-year spring runoff event.
Straight ahead now, you're looking at the North Ottawa project. The project itself now is 3 square miles. 2 miles north to south, 1.5 miles east to west. That's Pool A and Pool B and Pool C. We've got about 5,500 acre-feet of water stored now in North Ottawa. That's about 1/3 of its gate control capacity. No shortage of birds out there either. Wildlife use has just been phenomenal.
Once it's in the pool, we can shunt it in different directions and flood different parts of the impoundment. With the current configuration, if we did have more than could be handled by the 1 square mile pool, it would start flooding in and start filling up that whole 2 square miles.
We're putting everything we can into Pool C on the far west edge, and when it gets full, then it'll start automatically filling into Pools A and B. I don't know if we'll get enough water to do that. We might, but there's less water than for us to get off of Pools A and B, and we'll take it off of there first so they can get in there and farm it, because those are all leased out. They pay us to do that. This is our pressure relief valve. Before it would overtop the perimeter dike, or this dike that we're standing on, it'll spill over this spillway. It can take the water out of here as fast as it's coming in.
Following the flood, we drain it down as soon as the channels can handle it to about 4,000 acre-feet. We've got 6 outlets that basically lead into ditches that were there before.
There's some snows. That must be the scouting plot. You fill up a great big 3 square mile bathtub, and when it's safe to let it go, you open up the drain and let it go. We've got 6 drains in our bathtub that we can open up, and depending on which way is better to send the water, north or west. We've never let water out of this project until the crest is passed at Fargo.
So we're probably 200 acre-feet.
Okay.
The ultimate goal is to have it divided into 9 individually operable pools. The entire pool, all 3 square miles, are available in the spring for flood control. Following spring runoff, we try to drain down the eastern pool, which is 2 square miles, and get it drained down in time to plant crops in there.
Pool C was about 400 acre-feet in there.
Okay.
When we get the other partitions built in there, then we can more selectively decide which pools would be flooded in the event that you needed that storage in the summer.